Dear students, in the previous classes, we have seen how to derive individual demand curve from price consumption curve. In the present session, we will discuss the aggregate demand, or what is known as the market demand. And market demand for a commodity is defined as the sum of quantities demanded by all the consumers during a given period of time from the market. So it is nothing but the aggregate quantity purchased by all the consumers. Assuming that there are two consumers in the market, A and B. Two consumers in the market, A and B, and two commodities, X and Y. Two commodities, X and Y. We can write the demand function of A as XA is equal to Px, Py, income of A. XA is a function of quantity demanded of commodity by A. QA is a function of Px, Py and income of A. Similarly, quantity demanded by is QB. It's a function of Px, Py and IB. These are the individual demand functions. Individual demand functions. And QA and QB are the quantities of X and Y demanded by consumers A and B as a function of Px, Py and income. It is assumed that both the consumers face the same per unit prices, Px and Py. That is, prices faced by the consumers are same. It is also assumed that the consumers are price takers. They are purchasing commodities and they are very small relative to the size of the market, so that they cannot influence market outcomes. And it is also assumed that they are constrained by the income constraints of A is IA, of B is IB. Then quantity demanded, that is aggregate demand, is equal to QA plus QB is equal to QA Px, Py, IA plus QB Px, Py, IB. That is, quantity demanded in the market is the sum total of quantities demanded by individual A and individual B. Can also be written simply as QD as equal to QD Px, Py, IA, IB. Px, Py because it is assumed that both consumers face the same prices in the market for X and Y. Now, holding Py IA and IB constant, holding the price of Y and income of consumer A and B constant, we can obtain market demand curve for a commodity as the sum total of quantities demanded by A and B. So, we can derive the market demand as the sum total of quantities demanded by A and B for a private goods. We are considering private goods. Horizontal summation is possible only in the case of private goods. There are public goods where horizontal summation is not applicable. So, horizontal summation of quantities demanded by A and B will give you the market demand in the form of a graph. This can be like this: quantity demanded A, QA, QB and QD. Suppose that the price of X is Px star. This consumer purchases 3 units. Then this consumer purchases 2 units for the same price. Now adding together, you will get 5 for the price Px star. So, horizontal summation of quantities purchased by A, B is equal to 5, and market demand curve is obtained by the horizontal summation of individual demand curves. And this is X star of A, this is Q star of A, and this is Q star of B, and this is Q star D. Q star D. And given that X is an ordinary good for both consumers, X is an ordinary good, and one more point is we are considering two commodities X and Y. So we can write, it is better to write quantity demanded of X, quantity demanded of X, then QD X is equal to QX, quantity demanded of X by A, QX A, or simply QX, QA, QB, as it is QA, QB. So, quantity demanded of X is, we assume that for both A and B, X is a normal good. So, we assume that dou X by A by dou Px is less than 0. Similarly, dou Xb by dou Px is less than 0. That is, there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded for consumer A and also for consumer B. It is possible that for some consumers, this dou x by dou px may be greater than 0. That is the case of given goods. But when we consider all the consumers together, this effect will overcome this effect, so that in the aggregate there is a negative relationship between price and quantity demanded. And this market demand curve will shift over time if there is a change in the taste and preferences of the consumers, if there is a change in income of the consumer, if there is a change in the price of another commodity, if there is an increase in population like this, this demand curve will shift outwards for the same price, say Q dash D. If there is a change in taste and preferences, if there is a change in the price of Y, if there is a change in the income, population, these are all shift factors. So this is quantity demanded of X, always remember this. The same argument can be used to derive the market demand for commodity B also. This is the market demand curve for commodity X. So it is better to write it as XA, XB, so that it is XA, XB for avoiding confusion. XA, XB, XA, XB. This is quantity demanded of commodity X by A and B. This is total quantity of X in the market is equal to XA plus XB. If we are considering Y, it will become YA, YB. Adding together, you will get the aggregate demand curve for commodity Y also.